So we have more rounds of strikes on Iran. And Iran, of course, is retaliating and hitting U.S. bases and threatened to take out more oil infrastructure in the Gulf. And this is because Iran was controlling the straits. Trump didn't like that, I guess, and wanted to retaliate. And I've been saying this over and over and over again like a broken record. Anybody with any sense has been paying attention, have been saying the same thing. People like us have predicted what was going to happen from the very beginning. And everything is unfolded pretty much as predicted. I'm actually kind of surprised that Iran has the restraint that it has, given the circumstances. But Trump is clearly off his rocker. Okay, I was a Trump supporter up until the Epstein files thing, the way that was handled, and I wasn't too thrilled with that. But even then, I was still a supporter. I wasn't a hardcore supporter, but I was a Trump supporter overall until he attacked Iran. And I would have to say that my support for him skated on thin ice and really is broken through. And I can't say that I'm really a supporter of him anymore. I think his behavior is questionable. His thought process seems to be questionable given the choices that he's been making. I would suggest that people pay close attention and ask the question, is he rational? And I suspect that he is not acting rational at all. And if that's the case, then he's a danger to everybody. But Iran controls the straits, okay? And if I were to tell Trump, if I were in the room with him, I would say, Mr. President, Iran controls the straits, and unless you want to invade and occupy the entire country, Iran will control the straits. You would have to occupy the country, secure the country. We're talking millions of troops. You're talking about a major war effort on a scale that we have not seen since World War II. To do something like that, you'd have to secure it. You'd have to run it like an anti-terrorism campaign also after toppling the government in order to secure the straits. And why would we do that? Given everything that's going on, it's simply not worth it. And in the process of being invaded, by the way, Iran will probably just destroy all the oil infrastructure anyway, and it wouldn't matter. Iran has the leverage, okay? And the reason is that they know that the United States is not prepared to invade the entire country. They know that we don't have the standoff weapons because we're currently depleting them right now. We've given a lot of weapons to Ukraine. We have foolishly wasted a lot of our standoff weapons on this military adventure in the Persian Gulf. Now we lack power projection because we don't build rocket motors at the scale that China does. It's going to be several years before we're going to have any ability to do the kind of power projection that we used to be able to do, because we just don't have the manufacturing base to have that kind of build out of weapons that other countries do, like Russia, like Ukraine, like China does. So, and even Iran, by the way. Iran has the capacity to build these things, drones, for example, at a rate faster than we do. So it leads me to the next point. You're creating a energy-induced recession, possibly depression. You're flirting with energy-induced depression. You're talking about shutting down supply chain steps that we can't produce here in the United States because we don't have the infrastructure to do that. To move the infrastructure from East Asia to the United States takes years to do. The United States, you can maybe move a lot of it to Mexico where the labor is cheaper. If you want to do that, that would make sense. But we don't have a backstop here, okay? So if you shut down the global economy, that will impact us too, okay? So you think of technology, you think of computers. Most of the supply chain steps are in East Asia. You shut down oil, shipments to that area, you just shut all that down. Okay, so computing gets a lot more expensive. A lot of our economy depends on computing. It depends on updates. It depends on the high quality chips that are produced there. South Korea doesn't have options other than the Persian Gulf. Japan doesn't have that many options. Taiwan does not have that kind of options. Um, very few places produce oil that goes to East Asia. Australia, Malaysia, I believe. I think Indonesia produces a little bit of oil, but most of the oil that goes there comes from the Persian Gulf. Now, Russia can fill some of the gap if it's not being destroyed by Ukraine, which it currently is, to some degree. But I mean, the president was talking about, and I made a video recently on this, a 500% tariff on any country willing to buy oil from Russia. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, again, you're talking about destroying the whole world's economy. For what? I mean, what are you doing? Which brings me to my next point. If you're going to destroy the world's economy, if you're going to shut off oil from Russia and from the Persian Gulf, you're talking about a shortage of an essential component in a modern economy. How do you think these countries are going to react to that? Japan's got a sizable navy. You want Japan to be like it was in World War II? I mean, Japan went to war because of a lack of oil. They invaded Southeast Asia. They invaded parts of China. You want them to do that again? You want Germany to be like Germany in World War II? Because that's what they're asking for. I mean, you're talking about the migrant crisis, the economic crisis in Germany. I mean, you have this heat wave right now, and people don't have the electricity to cool themselves. Look at what's going on. I mean, are you people nuts? I liken to what's going on to the Bronze Age collapse, where you had a systems collapse and you had enough components of the economy taken out where the whole thing just came crashing down. And at the same time, you had something kind of like an information revolution, because the sophistication of writing got better. And so, people became, I don't know if I can say literate, but they started using analog and metaphor devices in their writing. And that caused something like an information revolution at the time. And you're talking about a huge fundamental change while the collapse was going on. And that's kind of like what's going on right now with communication. People are, to some degree, learning how to integrate knowledge better. I have, and I would like to teach people how to do that. But I think that's the next thing that's coming. And they're flirting with a collapse like the Bronze Age collapse. Trump's putting his face on coins, and in hindsight, he's going to be known as a guy who collapsed things. So I just wish somebody could talk to Trump. If I could talk to Trump, if I could talk to him, and I would say, Mr. President, you're destroying the world's economy. You are flirting with World War III, because these countries are going to react. They're going to build nuclear weapons. They're going to invade each other to gain access to resources because you're shutting everything off. We're on the precipice of something really bad, and we don't control the Straits. Bombing Iran is not going to control the Straits. So you need to take a different approach. What you're doing is not working, and it's going to hurt everybody. Would Trump listen to me in the mental state that he is? I'm afraid that he's probably not, and that's what I'm really concerned about. If he's not willing to listen to reason, I think that people need to seriously consider the 25th Amendment. I don't think that, given his state of mind, I suspect anyway that he's not going to fulfill his full term as president. I think there's a very good chance he might be removed.